Endgame content has never been easier than this, guys. Just look at me toying around with all my enemies in this Master Loss sector. You can have up to 5 stasis turrets. Now if you want to know how I did this, make sure you stick around and I'll show you the whole build. Now I'm going to be showcasing this build in the most recent Grandmaster, the Light Blade, just so you guys get an idea of how strong this build is. Okay, so stat-wise we are going to be prioritizing discipline, then recovery, and then I like to do resilience, just to have that extra bit of health. As for aspects, we are going to be using Bleak Water. Now this is going to turn our grenade into a turret. Combine this with Glacial Harvest, which is going to be creating those stasis shards whenever we freeze targets. Now these shards are going to be making us charge with light. Moving on to the fragments, we are going to be using Whisper of Durance, which is going to increase the duration of our turret. Now for our second fragment, guys, we are going to be using Whisper of Conduction most of the time. Now I say most because we are going to be swapping this out with Whisper of Shards whenever we are facing less enemies. Because the less enemies that we are facing, the more efficient Whisper of Shards becomes when combined with Headstone. Now we combine this with Whisper of Torment, which is going to give us grenade energy each time we take damage from our enemies. And finally Whisper of Change for that nice resistance when we are standing next to frozen targets, which is pretty much going to be always. Moving on to the mods, we are going to be using Elemental Shards for our helmet. This is going to make all those stasis shards that we produce whenever we freeze targets count as Elemental Stasis Wells. Combine this with a ammo finder of your choice and then a harmonic siphon. For our gloves, we are obviously going to be using the Osmimancy gloves. Now this is not only going to give you a second charge of your cold snap grenade, but it's also going to give you a nice chunk of grenade energy back whenever a cold snap grenade freezes a target. We are going to be slotting firepower into the gloves. Now this consumes 1 stack of charge with light, but it gives us 15% of our energy back whenever we throw our grenade. For the other 2 mods, just make sure you adapt them to each of your activities. Now for our chest piece, I'm also going to give you guys a choice. I like to run Font of Might in here whenever I'm using stasis weapons. If I don't happen to use stasis weapons, then I like to swap it around for something like Taking Charge, Shield Break. As for your resistances, make sure you adapt them to each of your activities. For our legs, we are going to be using Elemental Charge. Now this is going to make us charge with light whenever we pick up that stasis elemental shard. This combined with a scavenger of your choice and recuperation, because this is gonna heal us whenever we pick up a orb of power. Now this has saved me multiple times in the past, so I do recommend running this. Now finally, on our Warlock Bond, we are going to be running another copy of Firepower, which is going to give us another 15% of our grenade energy back whenever we throw it. Now the reason why we are using only 2 copies of Firepower is because it's already more than enough to spawn multiple turrets. As you saw in the intro, I was capable of spawning 5 turrets. This combined with an explosive finisher, which is gonna give us grenade energy whenever we finish someone. And then we combine this again with a bomber, which is going to give us even more grenade energy when we use our rift. Now, when it comes to weapons, this build is actually pretty flexible, guys. However, if you want to maximize the potential of this build, you want to be running either a weapon with Demolitionist or Headstone. Now, Demolitionist is going to be a lot more efficient when there's more enemies, because it's going to give you more grenade energy back whenever you kill one. However, Headstone is going to be more efficient when there's less enemies. So this is how you know when to swap them around. Now, if you are going to be using Headstone, then you need to make sure that you swap out Whisper and Conduction for Whisper of Shards. That way, whenever you destroy a stasis crystal, it's gonna boost the recharge rate of your grenade. However, I still recommend running weapons with Demolitionist. For example, this Deliverance is by far my favorite weapon to run with this build. Not only it has Demolitionist, but it also has Chill Clip, which is gonna help you freeze everyone that you shoot at. This weapon is absolutely amazing and you can craft it from the raid, just make sure you complete it 5 times as a red weapon. When it comes to the other 2 weapons, then honestly you can run whatever you like, so if you're facing champions, then make sure you swap out the weapons to deal with each champion appropriately. For your heavy weapon, same thing, you can run whatever you want. I like to run Reed's Regret because I use Font of Might with this build most of the time, so it also boosts the damage of Reed's Regret. But honestly, you are free to run this build with pretty much any weapons you want. I'm gonna leave some weapon suggestions at the end in the spreadsheet summary that I always leave. Now, how I like to play this build is by throwing my Cold Snap Grenade first. That way I can get my stacks of charge with light. And then once I have my stacks, I can start throwing out my turrets, or I can simply keep on throwing my Cold Snap Grenades depending on the situation. That's why I like this build, because it's very versatile. You don't have to always throw the turrets, you can swap between turrets and Cold Snap Grenades on the go. For example, in this situation, we killed the Guardian, however my teammate died and I have to go finish it. Now, what I end up doing is throwing my Cold Snap Grenade on the ground before doing the finisher, that way my Cold Snap Grenade can freeze the targets around me and I can do the finisher safely. Now, this is what I mean by this build being very versatile, is that you can just throw around your Cold Snap Grenade, or you can choose to throw your turret depending on the situation that you're facing. Now, same thing here, I'm about to res my teammate, so before resing him I just throw another Cold Snap Grenade on the ground to make sure everyone is frozen, and then I res him safely. Now, your ultimate is a very strong ultimate. I recommend using it in two different ways. One of them is when you're in an emergency and you need to pop your ulti for the damage resistance. So for example, when you're getting chased, or when you're about to get hit by a strong attack, or when you're about to die, that's when you use it as an emergency to make sure you survive. Or for example, if a very important enemy spawns that you have to kill instantly, then you can just pop your ulti and make sure that he doesn't move from one place and you can permanently CC him. Anyways, that's it for the video today. I hope you guys are gonna have a blast with this build, because trust me, I did. If you happen to enjoy this video, then please consider subscribing. I'm trying my best to grow out this channel and provide you guys with the best quality builds that I can possibly make. Also, if you haven't watched my previous two videos, then I absolutely recommend you guys do them, because they are pretty freaking crazy, and honestly, if you're a hunter, then you don't want to miss out on those two. Now, as I said, I'm leaving the summary of this build right here on the screen, so if you want to screenshot it, go for it. I also post this image and the dim link in my Discord, so if you're interested, make sure to join. Now, one last thing guys, I'm also going to be streaming on Twitch, where I'm going to be doing all kind of content, ranging from Grandmaster helps to flawless dungeons and raids. So if you want to hop on and do some Grandmasters on Master Nightfalls, then make sure you join the stream and we can play together. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.